Chapter 13. Bach and his companions continued to ride through miles of farm country. In addition to the vast white cotton fields, they also passed small plots of corn, peanuts, and vegetables, where single families raised the crops. Immediately following the wolf attack, everyone in the traveling party had been tense. Wingate rode with his head in a permanent state of motion, constantly scanning the fields and forests for any threats. Bach constantly checked the sword Corrigan had given him. He didn't want to be without it again. Bach spent much of that time riding with Isabella and Aventil at their insistence. Aventil told of his fabulous adventures traveling the 5 seas with his family before their recent falling out. Isabella talked about life in the royal court, but many of her stories were about quiet times spent with her parents. Bach couldn't relate to being a royal, but he could understand why she valued the time with her mother and father so much. To his surprise, the 2 young nobles seemed as taken with his stories of farm life as he was with theirs. Isabella nearly exhausted herself laughing at Bach's childhood tale of Yatta locking him in the community root cellar. Yatta actually left you there? Isabella wheezed, her eyebrows raised. Yes, she told my parents I'd run away. That scoundrel! Did no one hear you? Aventil leaned forward for Bach's response. Well, she told me I couldn't make a sound or the Mosork marauders would find me. Remember, I was barely 6 summers old. I spent the night in that damp, dirty cellar until a neighbor came for some sweet potatoes. The stories and laughter continued each night around the campfire. As the long hours on the trail wore on, and as they saw no signs of trouble, Bach, and nearly everyone else, started to get tired and more complacent. Certainly they encountered friendly faces along the road. Many of the tenant farmers tending to the cotton crops looked up from their perpetual stooped position to wave at the travelers as they passed by. Hello, friends, Isabella called back. Those familiar-looking faces and campfire stories were bright spots in an otherwise exhausting journey. Bach's back stiffened from riding day after day. Even Aventil, who practically was born on horseback, drooped in his saddle. No one complained, though. No one save Kotarian. The glow he wore after his performance against the wolves had worn off, and he resumed grumbling about the travel conditions. One late afternoon, Isabella traded whispers with Corrigan, then smiled. My next announcement may please you, Kotarian. We could all use a night indoors. You mean you would like a night away from the bugs and humidity, Your Majesty? Aventil teased. A grin on her face, Isabella propped her hand on her hip. Well, I am a princess. How can I look regal after sleeping on a bedroll in the woods? My people demand that I look my best. By the look of things, you've a long way to go. Aventil's banter drew a playful slap on the shoulder. Bok, please tell me I am not the only person here who would like a night in a real bed. Isabella pleaded her case as if they were back in the council chambers and Bach was a member of her royal court. Bach raised his hands and joined in the laughter. I am sorry, Your Majesty. Being from the country, I'm used to camping. You are on your own here. You men, always banding together. Isabella gently poked Bach's side, too. Fine. You and Aventil can sleep in Becky's stall. The rest of us will enjoy a comfortable, bug-free night indoors. Butterflies fluttered in Bach's stomach. He held his hands over his head in mock surrender. Very well, we will stay inside, too. Their travels soon brought them to Naseem, a city that formed to support the vast cotton farming enterprises in the North Country. While Naseem would never be confused with Ithenel in terms of size or grandeur, it offered travelers a chance to rest their horses, eat a hot meal, and sleep on something more comfortable than pine straw and pebbles. Factories, workshops, and row houses dominated the center of the hard-working city. Laundry-filled clotheslines dangled over every grimy street. Black soot poured into the sky from cooking stoves and smokestacks. Naseem had its own noble class. Someone had to own those factories and workshops. Their fine homes ringed the center city. The city's wealthiest neighborhoods were a short walk from some of its poorest. Most had tall wrought iron gates and staffed guardhouses to make sure those two worlds remained separate. The river Narthalon ran along Naseem's western boundary. The river was the city's lifeline, carrying goods made in its factories down to Ithenel and, via Ithenel's port, across the five seas to markets around the world. Bach found it no less intimidating than the capital city. Naseem may have been smaller and poorer, but it still crackled with activity. Too much for a young man who had never left Sola Valley. Still, Bach figured he should soak up the experience while he could, before the true work began when they got to Oso Creek.